Hello everyone, this is Jotto, and welcome to another deck tech. Now for this deck we'll be covering Hatebears, a deck that Wisp primarily worked on. He's been trying to get this thing to work for weeks, and then it finally did, and it completely broke everything. So yeah, this is one of the big three decks right now, being Mono Red, Hatebears, and Wisdom Dominion. So those are the three decks that basically dominate top 10 and in general just did the best, and they were also the big three that were played by almost everyone at Masters. So what is Hatebears? Now, Hatebears is a disruptive advanced Never deck that relies on a lot of corruption cards that are creatures that also have spell-like effects to make your opponent's life absolute hell. So first things first, let's have a look at the early game, then we'll have a look at some of the stuff that works with the hero power, your bit of disruption engine, and then the spells. So, what are you starting off with? Well, mostly corruption. So, the creatures you start out with, you've got Zombie Legionnaire. Now, Zombie Legionnaire is just a generic 2/2. A lot of the versions don't play it, but the one I'm looking at is just the generic one, so this one does. Link to the deck in the description. But anyway, so this particular version runs the 4 Legionnaires for a little bit of early pressure. It also works with the hero power since it's a creature, since Advanced never draws cards whenever you play creatures, and also reduces their cost. Now, because it only costs 1, it doesn't get reduced to 0, unfortunately, but it's still a nice extra pressure. Then you've got the Plague Vermin. Now this one is a little bit more of a sort of mid-game creature as well, but can be played early to deal with a lot of red creatures. It works out particularly well with Flesh Sculptor, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But Plague Vermin is, for all intents and purposes, an extra 1-drop that you can use to kill mostly goblins, but it also helps killing some of the 3 HP stuff. 2-drop choice is Infected Survivor. Infected Survivor allows you to hit 3 speed, which the deck has a little bit of issues with, but allows you to hit 3 speed. It also provides some counter to Cataclysm, so you've got a little bit of extra anti-control right there. And just being able to tie up an attacker or chump block something and then swing back the next turn is actually quite a big thing. It also lets you kill library guards with the fumes, so always nice to have the Infected Survivor. Insatiable Ghoul. Now, this is the only creature in the entire deck that costs more than 2 mana. So, Insatiable Ghoul is essentially a red counter, but 3/4 stats are very hard to handle. It is very difficult to kill an Insatiable Ghoul right now. It dodges all the Fireball type effects, it dodges Assassinate, it dodges Consume, because that usually hits for 3. The only thing it dies to is basically Harpy, and that's it. Insatiable Ghoul is an incredible creature right now, so it's playing the full 4. Some versions don't play 4, but those are the ones playing one of Vultures and things like that, which I do like the idea of playing one of Infernal Vulture in the deck, but that particular version is more of a tournament style because you're expecting sometimes these long games. You just want a little bit of an extra edge. But that's more of a tech as opposed to a core of the deck. So yeah, the Insatiable Ghoul adds a little bit of the heavy hitting punch that you sometimes need against the red decks. So, on to the Disruption Engine. Now these are all 2 mana, well, they're all 2 mana and one of them is 1 level, the rest are 2 levels. So these work primarily with the hero power to give a massive amount of punch out of a small amount of mana and while gaining card advantage. The most effective of these is Flesh Sculptor. Flesh Sculptor is the best card in the deck. It's insane. It works incredibly well to protect against Cataclysm, and with Reverence you can play it for 1 mana, and against control decks you have to time it so you play multiple Flesh Sculptors at once, and then 1 Cataclysm will not clear the board. They need 2, which is a big ask. So you get 2 Flesh Sculptors down, you basically won if you put it in with a Reverence. If you get 3, the game's completely over, unless, again, double Cataclysm. That's the only thing that deals with multiple Flesh Sculptors. It's an incredible card, and it's also one of those things where if they can't remove it, they lose. And it has a lot of utility with the Plague Vermins, where you can actually multiply Plague Vermin's damage output, and you can use it to kill one thing and then make it into 2 zombies, and you basically won the game at that point. So Flesh Sculptor is the best card in the deck. Then you got Mesmerizing Spirit. Mesmerizing Spirit allows you to disrupt your opponent quite directly, especially if they don't have card draw. Against zombies, it's utterly brutal because you make them discard 2 cards in the game, and then they probably lose. And if they miss a Divine, the game's completely over. It also helps quite a lot against control decks sometimes if they don't draw a lot of card draw, and is a very, very nice disruption creature. The flying is less relevant because you're not playing consume, but it's still a decent thing to have on it, and it's just a nice close second when it comes to disruption outlets. Then we've got a couple in green. Now, the first one to note is Brother-in-Arms. Yes, this deck plays Brother-in-Arms. The reason for it is because you technically play both copies, which means with Advance Never, you draw 2 cards for 1 mana, which is insane. You pay 1 mana, you get 4/4 worth of stats. You draw 2 cards, and when one of them dies, they all die, and then Flesh Sculptor triggers on every single one because they're actual cards, which is insane, and it's something which a lot of us didn't realize, and Wisp just kind of figured, well, maybe it works because it works with basic Neva, and it was ridiculous. It's definitely what brings this deck up is that Brother-in-Arms buff that happened a while ago to make it work with basic Neva. It also works with advanced Neva, so very underestimated, but very, very powerful. Then we've got Jungle Death Trap. This is the anti-Kayanu tech, but was also just very annoying. One turn heal has big issues killing this thing. It's just a 4/4 against them, and they have to play guards to kill it, and that's it. That's the only thing they can do. So they'll take hits, and it doesn't die storm, and things like that, and it causes some issues. Then Kayanu Blue, oh, they do not like this thing. They pay 2 mana for the hero power, they're going to get this huge creature, and then you play Death Trap, and then their creature dies. Which doesn't sound like a too bad trade, because it's 2 mana for 2 mana, right? Sort of, but Kayanu often relies on its hero power to edge out victories against the other Stoli type decks, and this is a very grindy type deck. So it beats the other fair decks a lot, kind of like with Kayanu, but with Kayanu it relies on the might counter, whereas if you've got Jungle Death Trap, it can't really get that in play. Now, originally there were more death traps in this list. However, Kayanu Blue has kind of been hated out of the metagame, which means that you don't need the full 4, and the 2 is just decent, because you don't really want multiples, because they all trigger at the same time and they all die. So yeah, you don't really want multiple in play. Now, the last of the disruptive creatures is the Unicorn, 3 of them. Now, this may as well read Destroy Burning Rage on its text, because that is its only reason for existing, and is also why this deck has a decently favorable matchup against red, because if they don't have the ultra aggro start, if they have a more burning rage control-y start, you're going to win, because Unicorns will kill all of his burning rages and then he can't keep up and he dies, and that's basically what happens, and Unicorn is incredibly good against red. So very, very powerful, and again can be reduced to 1 mana and has a decent body on it, so it is definitely a worth inclusion as a 3 of. So that's the entire creature suite. Onto the spells. Now there are 9 spells in the deck. Advanced Neva decks in general have to be a bit careful with their spell count. So some of these cards are, well, basically all 3 are normally considered 4-ofs, but you want to be running all 3 and you can't really run 12 spells. So first things first, we've got the Bounce suite from Nature. We've got Tornado Outbreak and Landslide. Landslide is more powerful than Tornado, but they function differently, which means you don't really want to be running 2 Tornado for Landslide, but I have tried that and it's not too bad. Landslide has some good anti-spell type play to it. It's also in the version that plays 1 Vulture, you can use Landslide with Vulture, the mill combination basically, to kill lamps. But outside of just sort of cutesy plays like that, it's in general just 4 mana, bounce 2 creatures. You can also lock out their draws. Landslide is a very, very powerful card. Tornado Outbreak, it has its primary use being ruining Implant's player's day, annoying the living hell out of anyone playing Kayanu, because they pay 2 turns basically to play this creature and then it gets bounced, and then thinking, that's a problem. It's also the reason why bounce effects in the mirror is so powerful with Kayanu decks. It also is really good against Phoenix. Phoenix is a massive issue, but if you keep bouncing it, they will probably get tempo to death. And then lastly, we've got Noxious Fumes, only a 3-off, but you need removal, so you have to run this because there are certain things you do not want to deal with that can actually potentially cause issues, like Foundry Engineers, or just random stuff like Gnome Surgeon and things like that. So you definitely want to have the removal. Helps also to kill 2/3 with 3 speed with the help of Infected Survivor. Besides that, very, very basic shrine count, 9 nature, 9 corruption. Very, very basic. At first I was trying Enchanted Spring, but that didn't really work, so I kind of just went back to this list. But yeah, in terms of tech options, you've got access to things like Vulture, Ambush Strike, that's another interesting one. Instead of Fumes for certain metagames, you don't need the removal as much. You can also cut Legionnaires and maybe run an extra Shrine and then 2 extra Vultures maybe. I mean, there's a couple of things you can do that we definitely saw out of some of the people at the tournament. I'm trying to think of any other tech options you can really have a look at. Ancient Treant, that's another one. Some of the versions I've seen have cut Zombie Legionnaire for a Shrine, a Vulture, and 2 Treant. I think that was the switch. There's also potential to run stuff like Deathbound, although I don't really agree with that. So yeah, there's a couple different tech options, and with the next set coming out in about a month, just over a month, then we're going to see more options for this kind of deck, so it will be sticking around for a long time. So anyway, let's try and take this into a ranked game. Yep, the deck overall has performed very, very well. I actually managed to get up to 1900 points with this last week. Before Masters, when I was practicing the deck, I managed to get up to 1900 and... something crazy. I think it was 1920 points or something. But yeah, the deck definitely is capable of some serious win streaks, and should not be underestimated. Now, I think that along with Rage, it's probably the best ladder deck. I think Wisdom Dominion is also very, very good. I just haven't done very well with the deck whenever I've played with it on ladder. I don't know, it never seems to really work out for me, but a lot of other players have played it and it has done very, very well for them, and they've got up to 1900 with it as well. So that's definitely another ladder deck to have a look at. But hopefully we'll be getting a buff patch in the next week, which would be nice, since they have talked about a potential buff patch before Masters, and then they said, nah, we'll put it forward to Masters, so hopefully we're getting something. That would definitely be appreciated, since I think at this point everyone's a bit sick of the current metagame. Alright. Now, this is a Wisdom Dominion control deck. I've got a 1-drop, I've got 2 Flesh Sculptors. This isn't too bad. I think there are better hands, but there are worse ones, so I think I'll go ahead and keep this. Because if he doesn't have Assassinate, I can maybe get multiple Sculptors out, or just save them for Reverence. But yeah, there are definitely worse hands than this, so I'm not going to be greedy and mulligan that. You want to be looking for your core 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop start, basically, with Insatiable Ghoul and Infected Survivor and things like that. New Horizons turn 1, that's potentially problematic. There's a Brother-in-Arms, and there's an Infected Survivor. Alright, so that opening turned out to be quite good. Now, you could play a Protector here. Yeah, Protector's potentially annoying. Ooh, double ramp opening. That's kind of annoying, actually, because that means he can get, if he has triple ramp, he can Cataclysm almost immediately. Now, I was going to say play the Brother, but with the 3rd Infected, I'll just play that. And we've got a good Divine Offering target there in Brother-in-Arms, since I don't want 2 in hand. Since one draws the other, and you want to have 2 sets of them in the deck. If he plays Library Guards, then I'm going to play a Sculptor here, I think. I know there's going to be a Cataclysm is the thing. A Force Field? Interesting. I mean, if I play Sculptor, he'll just get rid of it. So I think what I'm going to do here... I can just play 1 and then sacrifice and kill the Spirit. Because then at least he has to go out of his way to kill the Sculptor, and he might let the Force Field degrade over time if he doesn't want to spend the time into pumping into it. Because he needs to go up a level here, and he can't, unless he has New Horizons, he can't get the second level to actually pump up the force field. So he might have to leave the Sculptor in play. That's my idea here. Force Field's a very interesting card. I haven't seen that in ages. I have got unicorns in the deck, so it's not like it's a lock. But if he has a second one and then keeps them both in play, I'm not locked out of the game because I do have unicorns in the deck. And worst case, I can always just play unicorns and bounce unicorns, and then that's fine. Interesting. Draw. Oh, I can just Tornado Outbreak it. Is that the right play? Alright, let's get rid of this Noxious Fumes. Get a green, that's good. Tornado Outbreak, my own dude. Get 2 damage in. And then play the Infected Survivor again. I could have played a Flesh Sculptor there, but I mean, if he Cataclysms here, I get 1, 2, 3, 4 zombies. So I think a Sculptor there would have had the same effect. The difference is I'm down a Sculptor, which I'm not a fan of. I can probably hold off on the hero power for one more turn. So we get 4 damage in here, which doesn't seem amazing, but this is another board he kind of has to Cataclysm, and there goes the Force Field. That Force Field did do a decent amount of damage blocking, but he still got these to deal with. Yeah, the second Cataclysm. And now chances are he does not have a third, so I can go crazy here with the hero power. Alright, so we start with the brothers. Play a Sculptor. And Plague. That was not a fantastic hero power, honestly. I mean, I did get 3 creature plays, but I did draw a little dead. Like, I don't have anything to play now. Yeah, this is the problem with the spells. This is also the reason why the deck plays 18 Shrines. You can play 19, but the problem is that you already draw a lot of cards, and it's actually the reason why the old Advanced Never decks also ran very Shrine Light. They were running 20 back when Divine Offering was only 4 cards, instead of the commonly accepted, which was 21, or even some decks ran 22, the 3-color decks. So they even ran 20 back then. So they just run a little Shrine Light. Not a Shrine Light as red decks can get away with, though. They can get away with 18 with 4 skill shrines, but in general they have to run a little bit Shrine Light. Is there a double weakness counter coming down here? Yeah. Alright, that's kind of expected. I could just landslide this, to be honest. Assassinate. I think at this point I just keep things for reverence. So we're going to just take out the creature since he is low on resources, and we'll just keep drawing cards and then go for a crazy reverence since he is low on cataclysms now. This matchup in general is usually favored for Advanced Neva. Usually. These bulky creatures are very, very hard to handle. But in general, it's not too bad. There's another Sculptor. That's a big deal. If I landslide, they both draw cards. I can probably get a better landslide, so I won't. It's not like I'm taking a massive amount of damage here. I mean, he could have a lamp, which would suck, but outside of that, it's not too bad. Hopefully I can get multiple Sculptors. I still have 2 in the deck. Hopefully I can draw the second one. I need a good reference here. Interesting. So he must be playing obelisks, because then it'd be 3-color. There's been a little bit of an upsurge in these like rainbow control type decks because of PQ. Alright, let's get started on this reverence. This does not seem to be a very good one. I mean, he did get 2 ghouls down. He probably has Assassinate for the Sculptor. Yeah, he does. Well, that puts me in a bit of a problem, because that was quite a weak reverence, considering it was 8 mana. Yeah, I only drew ghouls. Which, ghouls are not too bad, because the ghouls are not easy to prey on. Okay, never mind. That, he's gonna double it. He can take out one of the ghouls here for free. Well, almost, but yeah. And he probably should. I just take out one of the ghouls, because then I can put sculptors back in the deck, which is not where he wants to be. Oh boy, another Djinn. Yeah, this is where sometimes if you don't get the references down to force resource trading, stuff like Djinn of Wishes especially can be absolutely brutal. So he didn't actually kill a ghoul, unless he's got a flash freeze or something. I'm not sure if that's worth the investment, honestly. Because that does leave him with no resources. And there goes a Cataclysm. That's potentially huge. Alright, so I'm just going to landslide the 2/5/5. I mean, the 2 Djinns. Not 5/5s. But yeah, landslide the 2 Djinns, and I could actually just... Let's just get the kill on this. Get it out the way. Yeah, because I can always bounce in response, because I know exactly what he's drawing. I mean, now he can't draw the second Djinn, because he puts it on the bottom of the deck as the point. And he missed. So now he double attacks, and I just tornado my 2/3. That gets rid of the weakness counter on it as well. Death Trap, that is a potentially huge draw there. Death Trap, play the 2 ghouls, and pass. So the ghouls are going to allow me to put flesh sculptors back in the deck. This is where Vulture comes in handy in some of these versions. They run the 1 Vulture for situations like this, the longer games. As yeah, there's the rainbow element. So now the Death Trap is causing a few issues where he can kill it and then pick up one and replay it. But that's basically the same as just picking one up and replaying it. So yeah. Death Trap does cause a few issues for decks like this. See if he gets something off the Djinn. Djinn's a bit random sometimes. You saw he missed earlier. I think he's missed twice this game. But Djinn is a little random in its capabilities from time to time. Now, how many flesh sculptors do I have left in the deck? 2. And the brother will shuffle the deck, meaning that even if I put them on the bottom, it's still just good enough. Interesting. So he doesn't want the Death Trap to kill his bounce. Now, if he gets lucky, then this is effectively the same play. Although, it's actually better in some situations. It's worse if he misses, but it's better if he hits, because then he gets to decide what ability he takes. Random green arrow. Okay, so we did actually get a good one there. Interesting. Using a helm. That's potentially a good idea, but not always. Let's put a flesh sculptor back in the deck, shall we? Now I can just landslide and reverence. Yeah, I think I actually like that play. Because I can just landslide and then reverence and start the chain. And then that shuffles the deck, so that puts the sculptor at the top. Play one unicorn. Didn't get the second one, unfortunately. Yeah, didn't get the second sculptor. Now, I'm basically saying to him, you need your fourth cataclysm. That's what this play basically says. And I know what his top cards are. Well, I know what his top card is. Actually, do we move the sculptor back here? No, because the only thing he can draw is Cataclysm, and I've got a chump blocker for his library guards. Outside of something weird like Ancient Wisdom into Assassinate plus... Yeah, but Assassinate could just be used on the Sculptor, so that's not even... Yeah, I can't think of anything that would change that play. And that seems to be game over, because I've got lots of damage here. And he doesn't have any blockers. He does gain some life. Is he dead? 5, 7, 9. Yes, he is. Ran out of resources. And that's basically how this deck functions a lot. Like, it looked like I was going to lose a while ago, but Hatebears is kind of the king of grindy games. It's really good at grindy games. And, like, that particular game showed both why the Vulture tech is a good thing, but also a kind of sometimes unnecessary thing. Like, a 1-of Vulture would have been really, really good there, but I didn't actually need it. So I'm going to leave that up to, I'm going to leave that up to each of you guys to test out and see whether or not you like it. But if you do want to try out the Vulture, then go down to 3 zombies and then 1 Vulture, or maybe 2 Vultures, 2 zombies. That's the cut if you want to try out the Infernal Vulture tech. But anyway, before we head off, matchup-wise, so Hatebears is generally favored against red and Wisdom Dominion. That's its call to fame. It's really good against those decks. Against the rest of the meta, it goes between decent and... Well, I mean, decent and a little less favored against other things. But the point is that it's basically 50% against most decks, with slight favors against other decks. And its bad matchups are about 40%. Now, if that sounds familiar, it's because that's exactly the same line I used to describe Rage. Yeah, that's the exact same line, basically. It's 50% against most stuff, it's favored against other things, and then its bad matchups aren't even that bad. And that's the same line of text. So, yeah, Hatebears and Rage right now are basically on par with each other in terms of how strong they are versus the metagame. I will say I think Rage is better against more stuff because you don't have any issues against just random stuff in the metagame, like a bunch of 3-speed threats you can't handle. So, yeah, in general, Rage is slightly better than Hatebears in my opinion, but I think they're both incredible decks and they're both massively favored in most matchups and are definitely worth playing. Hatebears is also one of those decks where I think it's one of 3 decks right now I'd suggest for a single deck tournament. And even, or ladder as well, and also Conquest now that I think about it, the entire metagame's exactly the same. So, yeah, the 3 decks that I would suggest you can play right now are Hatebears, Wisdom Dominion, and Rage. And I think Wisdom Dominion is actually the weakest of those 3. It's close, though. It's very close. Like, Wisdom Dominion is about 50-50 with Rage from my experience. It might be a little favored to Wisdom Dominion, actually. By tiny amount, but it's about 50-50. It's slightly bad against Hatebears, but again, that's about 45-55 probably. Keeping in mind, if anyone that plays the deck a lot is watching, I'm curious to see what you guys think about matchups. But anyway, so out of the big 3 decks right now, they're kind of 50-50 against each other a lot of cases, but I think placement-wise, I think that the dragon version of Rage is probably the best right now. It's very close. Then I think it's Hatebears second, then the non-dragon version of Rage, then Wisdom Dominion. And when I say it's close, I mean like a matter of 2 or 3% either way. But those are the three big decks. Then you got, besides that, you can play Drain a little bit. That's fine. Kind of Blue is a bit sketchy right now, but again, isn't too bad. That's kind of bad against Wisdom Dominion is its main problem. Wisdom Dominion absolutely crushes that deck. So in general, we got a 3-deck metagame right now, and this is one of the big titans of it. But anyway, thank you all for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe. If you have any feedback or want to ask me any questions, put it in the comment section below. If you'd like to support the channel directly, there is a link to my Patreon in the description. But as for now, it's been Jotto, signing off.